shit. So.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the internet. I started making music in high school. I started my band called The Young and the Useless, and we used to hang around with the Beastie Boys. They needed a guitar player, and since I was there, so you know, that's sort of how it all happened for me. And this is like 1982. All of us on the hardcore scene, we were really all we were listening to was rap music at that point. We're like going on tour, and we're like, well, listen, drag like carrying drums and amps and shit, so let's just do rap and just have two turntables and a mixer. It was a matter of convenience and laziness, yeah. So when we started making License to Ill, we had tons of tape loops on there. The thing about sampling, for me, it was like, you know, you rap over these breaks, and then Yauk had the fucking jump on a beat, and I'm like, whoa, well, let's do that. And it's not like we were the first people to do that. I mean, you know, tons and tons of people were doing that, but we hadn't realized that, so we discovered it for ourselves, and it was really, it was cool. If you could have the beat going, then you can certainly cut in James Brown horns or, you know, any of that stuff. And so we were just into that, like, that layering and layering of shit, which was definitely, like, influenced by Public Enemy. I got an SP-1200, which I believe belonged to Ice-T. Thank you, Ice-T, for my first sampler. The SP-1200 makes you come up with your own thing, as opposed to just using the thing that somebody else made. It was very, like, hands-on. You played it like a video game, and you had to chop shit up. And I didn't use the SP-1200 because it was like an 8-bit or whatever bit machine. I don't really care about that. It was what I liked to use. The SP-1200 was the sampler that I used, and that's the only sampler that I used until Reason. Mike in my band was like, yo, this shit called Reason just came out. My friend Wag has it, I'm buying it, you gotta get it. And so I said, okay. Went and bought this stuff called Reason, never looked back. Absolutely. I like the SP-12 because it's all in this one little box. And then Reason came out, it was just all this crazy shit in the box. But it was like mind-boggling how much stuff is in the box. Me, Adam, and Mike, you work very similar in that we'll just make some shit at home, just a basic idea, and bring it in. And it's sort of a matter of like whose idea we like the best. Normally, what I do is I start making things with a beat. With me, it starts with the beat. I like to use Recycle because it emulates that thing that we're talking about of the SP-1200 sampler, because then it chops it up nice, and it's very easy to chop it up. On the SP, you had to load it, copy it, but that copy you had to chop just to the little one note, and then you had to delete all the other stuff, and then copy it again, delete, you know, get that other next note, delete all the other stuff. It was like this whole process, and so it was just hours. And this takes 30 seconds. You just open it up, boom, sensitivity, blah, blah, boom, 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 then you got your beat. And then what tempo are we on? 101. Whoa. And I know. And so anyway, this is what I do when I'm making music, is I just kind of just fuck around with beats, and then usually just pause for a while and say, wow, aren't computers cool? So then you got your little beat. To fill it out, then I use the re-drum. Then you add your kicks and snares. So see, I just do it all in here, and you can do your little bass sounds. Oh, okay, so the other one is this Thor thing. Like, Thor is crazy. I mean, that's the thing about Reason, is it doesn't stop. It really doesn't stop. Sorry. Basically, I do all my music in Reason and Pro Tools. And now that this, you know, record thing is out, like, it seems like I should just do everything in record. I just really like the way Reason works. And so I think that that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. I just like that it's all in this one little thing. My SP is collecting dust right now. So that's what I got. Well, the other thing is that I've kind of discovered LL Cool J. I mean, that's a whole other, you know. I didn't want to say that or get into that story, but since we're on the subject. All right, so here's a little history. I got some money in high school, and I got $250, and I went to Rogue Music on 30th Street, and I wanted to go and buy a black and white Rickenbacker like Paul Weller in the Jam. And I was looking at that Rickenbacker, I was like, fuck, I got $250, I'm ready to go. And then I saw an 808, the Roland TR 808. And I was like, Dick is the guy that owns the place. I said, Dick, you know, how much is that? He's $250. And so I was like, do I buy the Rickenbacker? I already have a guitar, but it's not the cool Paul Weller guitar. Or do I get the drum machine? I kind of want a drum machine. Like I never had one. Everybody's like talking about drum machines, so I should get this one. And so I got it. You can do a little insert of that 808 right there. So I bought the 808 instead of the guitar. I was just like plug that in, you know, my little shitty like Emerson speakers, like it sounded awesome. And I was like, this is what I want to do. And that's how I got into it. And I just, you know, wanted to make. I just got into it. I didn't know that that was something that I knew how to do, and I did. And I got into it. And I made the beat for LL Cool J's first record.
I've heard that.
That's right. You're welcome. Well, the other thing is that I've kind of discovered LL Cool J. I mean, that's a whole other, you know. I didn't want to say that or get into that story, but since we're on the subject, I used to be at Rick's place all the time, and he had just started Def Jam Records, and he had one 12-inch out by T. La Rock and Jazzy J. And then people started sending him demo tapes, and I was the one that listened to the demo tapes. So if you sent a demo tape back in 1984 and didn't get signed, I apologize. But I got one around 85 from a kid who called himself LL Cool J. And I said, man, this is really good, Ricky, you got to check it out. In the early 80s, and, you know, around that time, late 70s, early 80s, when rap was getting played on the radio, I mean, we're, you know, in New York City, downtown New York, like you heard, you know, Rapper's Delight, and you heard, you know, rap music on the radio in New York. Well, and so all of us on the hardcore scene, we all loved rap music too, and it was just starting to, you know, spread throughout New York. We were a punk band, and we were really, all we were listening to was rap music at that point. So we were like, well, we should, you know, make what we love. And so we were playing, you know, our shows, we would play like half punk and then half rap. You know, the shows we played was just our friends anyways, so it wasn't like there was some weird thing happening. It was like, oh yeah, you know, Adam and Mike love rap music, and we do too. And so it's like, you know, we're all, you know, all of us were changing. It wasn't just the three of us, it was our whole group of friends.
Panic was telling me about pause tapes. Did you guys ever do?
Oh man, I got pause tapes. I was a pause tape battler. I mean, shit. Oh yeah. Pause tapes is basically, you know, you had a double cassette deck, and you know that was basically the most advanced equipment that you had, or at least that I had, that I could afford. And so it was the double tape deck, and you basically made loops by, you know, the drum beat comes in, and you record from the, you know, the one left side, the play side, to the record side. And so you'd have to just get the pause button just right. So when the beat came up, you'd unpause it, the beat would go, and then you'd have to pause it just perfectly before the music started. Then you'd rewind, and you'd do it again, and you'd do it again. And so you just have your little loops going on the cassette tape. That's some caveman shit. That's what we used to work with, you know, banging stones together to make a fire. And that's the other thing, is you smoke a lot of weed and you make pause tapes, and then you try to play it for somebody, and people are like, why am I listening to this? Who cares? All right, so basically, Yauk and our friend Tom wrote the song "Fight for Right to Party." They had a band called Brooklyn, and they're like, "What's the stupidest thing we can come up with? What's like we need an anthem, and what's really the stupidest thing we can come up with?" So they were like, "You got to fight for your right to party." And so it was like this thing. We were like making fun of like frat jock dudes or whatever, and we're like, "You got to fight for your right to party," and you know, and then we started playing shows, and we're like, you know, drink tickets, free drinks, and then like more people are listening to us, so we're like getting paid more money. Then we're going to places, and you know, just like one of those things that become what you hate theory sometimes. And then, you know, you're just all f***ed up, and you're like, yeah, man, you got to fight for right to party, f*** it. And then, you know, that got kind of tired, kind of fast, and so we're like, and we did blow up kind of fast, big, you know, in 86, 87. You know, a lot of 1987 was a kind of oh shit moment like that, where, you know, you're like, you have this joke song, you're like, fight for the party, and everybody on it says, yeah, yeah, dude, we gotta fight for the party. And I'm kind of like, yeah, that's right, we do. Wait a minute, whoa, it's all kind of happening too fast. And then I remember we went and toured our first tour in Europe, and we went to Germany, and we were like, what's the funniest thing that we could do to piss off the Europeans? And we played the Rocky theme, and we came out with boxers' robes. It was like, dan, 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 dan. We came out like USA on our back. We're like, what's up? And it was all American Army dudes stationed. The crowd went fucking nuts. And we're like, well, you know, the thing of like making fun of this, that, and the other is like not that funny. Let's just like make what you have to make. Do what you do. No reason to go outside of your realm. Just make what makes you happy. Okay, so sampling. I remember I went to Yauk's apartment in Brooklyn, and this has got to be 84, maybe, around 84, 85, around then. And he was like, oh shit, you got to see this thing that I did. And I went into his place, and he had just a tape loop running all the way around his apartment. And it was John Bonham beat, you know, what the fuck is that?
Levy breaks or something?
When the levee breaks. And levee breaks, and he's got it like, you know, the tape deck, and he's got a piece of tape going all the way around his, you know, by like a mic stand, a chair, and it's just going around, you know, that beat. And who knew? Who knew you could do that? I didn't know. And he's like, yeah, tape loops, you know, like Jimi Hendrix used to do it, and Sly Stone used to do it. And I was like, oh shit, that's fucking cool. If you could have the drum beat going, then why not have you know, Super Sperm playing, or, you know, any of those breaks or any of those grooves or whatever, and why not, you know, rap on those like you were just doing, you know, a couple years ago. I believe that Beastie Boys is the first legal document to use the word sample in terms of a music license infringement. I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about that, but yeah, lawsuit. Jimmy Castor Bunch, Hey Leroy, we used their record and they sued us, which I'm sure someone played them, they're like, that's our record on their record, how does that make sense? And so, you know, they were like, you know, you should pay us, which makes sense. And we used plenty of it. And so they were like, you know, it's a sample of music and blah, blah, blah. So that's what I believe, or I've been told, that Beastie was the first sample lawsuit. We didn't really call it sampling.
What do you call it?
You know, the shack up beat. I don't know, you just call it whatever it was. Loops.
Okay. But then when you would do, like, something that wasn't necessarily a loop, but it would just be an act.
We didn't call it samples until, you know, it all kind of caught on. Until, like, Paul's Boutique. You know, they just had some crazy machine that played this music. Like, it was a computer thing, and I was like, that's fucking crazy. I don't even know what that is. I'm just going to bring my records, and you guys do it. For the record, I'm fine if somebody wants to take something that I've made and chop it up, and so it's like their own new thing. That's interesting to me. We played a show in LA at this club called Power Tools. And this is a little bit of history. We played the show at our friend Matt Dyke's club, Power Tools. We come on, the 808, boom, blows the whole PA up. This guy, Mario Calzado, goes up to our friend Matt and says, I told you, man, I met you a couple weeks ago and said you should let me do sound. I'm going to do sound from now on at your club. Mario and Matt met these other guys. They started the Dust Brothers, Beck fame and a lot of other things. And then Mario Calzado, when we went back to LA, we met Mario. We needed an engineer. Through him, we met, you know, all these people, and then Mario was our engineer. Mario was the guy that knew all of the stuff. Adam Yauch and Mario knew, you know, they know all of the gear stuff and techniques, and that's what Mario, you know, while we were being a band growing up, Mario was being an engineer growing up. And that's what he was into, studying how, like, Jimmy Page got his sounds, how Lee Perry got his sounds, like all the great, producers and engineers and stuff. And so I was really lucky to like get to work with Mario because he taught me a lot in terms of how to, engineer. And when we started recording with Mario for years, we worked together. He recorded everything. I mean, we have hundreds of hours of tapes of just really bad, like, jamming.